Okay, fellas, third time lucky. At Bradford, we played well for 40 minutes. We lost it. At Leeds, in the league there, we played well for 40 minutes, and we lost it. We've seen Leeds perform on 3 occasions. We've played against them twice. You've seen yourself what they can do if they intimidate. This time, I want you to be the intimidator. This time I want you to dominate. If you can do that, I'm confident in your playing ability, in the team's playing ability, that we can win.
Fighting talk from Salford coach Kevin Tamity as his side prepare to face the most expensive team in the game in our very first Rugby League live from the Willows. Good afternoon. These are times of change for Salford and Leeds. Leeds breaking the bank to reclaim their place among the big boys, and Salford have reached for the chequebook too. Kevin Tamity not one to settle for second best.
Doug Lawton knows his way around the winners' enclosure. At Leeds, he's surrounding himself with winners. His first signing was Bobby Goulding, the teenage test star who helped Wigan pip Lawton and Widnes at the Championship post last season. From the same stable, he took Rugby League's thoroughbred talent. A world record £250,000 made Ellery Hanley a Leeds player too. If he could, Doug would have added Martin O'Fire's name to the Headingley guest list, but 2 weeks ago, Wigan signed up the fastest gun in the West.
But I'm just going to go out there and give it my best shot. You know, I won't be changing my philosophy, you know, at all. I'll just go out there and play as best as I can play and score as many tries as I can, score, and I can't really, try and do any more than that, really.
Last Sunday, the payoff began. Wigan's £440,000 stake paid off a first dividend. Victory by a single score kept them top of the First Division.
He's going to score his first try for Wigan.
Top of the First Division for most of the season so far, St Helens, Lancashire Cup winners, and after 3 defeats in a row, winners of 3 games in a row to return to the Championship reckoning. It's tough at the top, Perm only 1 from 6 for the jackpot prize. The first major prize of the season has been collected by Widnes, the Regal Trophy. What in regal fashion, 24-0. The former pupils upstaging their teacher. Lawton's Leeds beaten for the first time in 12 games, and in the very week that he'd given them a reminder of his ambition. Doug didn't think too much of the Rugby Union World Cup, but he thought enough of Craig Innes to offer him the chance to follow O'Fire and Davis. 32 times an All Black, Innes had turned down St Helens 18 months ago, but turned up in Leeds 2 weeks ago, ready to join the club. He comes highly recommended.
There's no way he'll be anything but a top-class rugby league player, I'll tell you that now.
Doug Lawton, and with me now, Peter Tunks, Eldham coach and Rugby League Live expert. Was Doug Lawton right to spend so much money on Innes, do you think?
Well, I think that he realises there's a vacancy to be filled in the number 3 or 4 jersey for Leeds. There's not enough attacking thrust out there. Probably Craig Innes was the most potent attacking force out wide in the World Cup in the Rugby Union, and he set his sights on his man, and as we've seen with Widnes in the past, he rarely ever fails.
Well, it is a day when we'll have a chance to assess the form of Rugby Union converts on both sides. Some obviously make the switch a lot more quickly than others. Salford prop David Young has finally found his touch in Rugby League after Leeds paid a six-figure fee to bring him from Wales.
£165,000 was too big a burden for Leeds, as well as the former Cardiff, Wales and British Lions prop forward, who has shown the door after only 14 months and 6 appearances.
Obviously I've got no sort of ill feelings towards Leeds, but obviously I just didn't get a chance. They got such strength in depth there. It was quite obvious after 12 months there that I was never going to get a run in the first team to prove myself. No, I had no regrets of going at Leeds, and obviously this season has come right for me.
Young has now matured into a trim 17.5 stones and is fully committed to the Red Devils, much admired by his mentor.
David's one of those lads that has got the strength, he's got the discipline in himself to want to be the best. He's certainly come on a bomb this year, and in that, I mean that he trains well. At 17.5 stone, he certainly runs his weight. He is always confident that he can add or inspire the players that are around him.
And with him at Salford is a union of 13-a-side converts: Peter Williams, David Fell, Martin Burkett John Gilfellon and the injured Adrian Hadley have all made the successful transition.
I haven't. I've been quite happy just to let him find his feet and then correct any problems that needed correcting. And there hasn't, believe you me, there hasn't been a great deal of problem to correct. As I said, his enthusiasm speaks for itself.
I think it's a lot different, you know, it's a completely different game altogether, and there's a lot you've got to learn.
David Young from Salford. Before we talk about Salford though, Peter, what about Leeds? Have they got a point to prove today?
Well, yeah, there was a big setback for them last Saturday against Widnes. They'd won 12 in a row up till then. I feel today that Salford could be in for a backlash from that performance. Doug Lawton has shown a lot of faith in his men by sticking with the same side, and I think they'll have to do it on the park this afternoon.
Which players should we look out for?
Well, John Bentley was one of the real surprises from last Saturday. He really did play well. It's his third or fourth season as a convert from rugby union, and he's really starting to come of age. Strong, very, very fast with an eye for a try. He's shown this year that he could be a potential contender for the Tour Down Under later on.
That's a great try, that, isn't it?
Great individual try, yeah. Also, Gary Schofield. Everybody in rugby league knows the name Gary Schofield, knows what he's capable of. Gary, by his own standards, would have had an off day last Saturday, but we all know that those are very few and far between for Gary. He's got a big set of shoes to fill while Leroy Hanley's out, and I'm sure that today he wants Leeds to get back on the winning way.
And what about Edwards?
Well, Morven Edwards has been a real surprise packet. Previously in England with Swinton, a little-known player really from one of the regions of New Zealand. It wasn't really an expected signing when Doug Lawton signed him, but he has proved to be ultra safe at the back of Leeds this year, and he's also very good in attack.
And we've just got time to talk about Salford. Who in particular should we look out for?
Well, I think their main attacking weapon really is Martin Burkett this year, a Cumbrian lad who played rugby union originally. He's got a lot of pace. He's very dangerous whether they use him in the centre or on the wing, and he's got the added plus of being a good goal kicker, so I think we can look out for Martin Burkett today.
Clive.
Thank you, Eamon. Good afternoon to you all. Good to be back. Kevin Tamt is without some key men today. Hadley and Reid missing from the backs. Hansen and Donegan from the forwards. But number 9, Mark Lee, and number 12, Ian Blease return after injury. And no two players have had a bigger say in Salford's return to the big time. Reputations don't come any bigger than Gary Schofield, Rugby League's Player of the Year last season. It's the same Leeds team that Widnes took apart in the Regal final last Saturday. Doug Lawton feels their league form has earned them another chance. In charge today, Russell Smith, the youngest referee in the top flight, just 27 years of age. Rugby League's Team of the Month for November, Salford, against the monthly award winners for December, Leeds. A January encounter with a double edge. Victory for Salford lifts them 3 steps up the escape ladder into 8th place. Victory for Leeds takes them into 2nd place, a point behind the leaders Wigan. Salford, the Red Devils, in possession with Arthur Bradshaw, their 2nd row forward. Salford earned that November award with 2 wins over Wigan and a trip to the Regal Trophy semi-finals. Little's gone right for them since, though. Peter Williams, a left-footed kicker. And an early test for Morven Edwards, the Maori Leeds fullback. December belonged to Leeds, who hit the top of the table last month, but since the turn of the year, they've lost the leadership and the Regal final. And Leeds' reaction to that comprehensive defeat by Widnes, in many ways the key to today's game. Richard Gunnard acting halfback. Gary Devorty, who is filling the number 13 shirt in the continuing absence of Ellery Hanley, who's back in training and no more than 2 or 3 weeks away from a return to the team. Mike O'Neill in the scrum cap. 5th tackle. It'll be Bobby Goulding to kick. Looking to go in behind Tex Evans, who went for the soccer-style control and gathered it at the 2nd attempt. It's the consequences for today's losers that are maybe the more serious. Defeat for Leeds would effectively take the destiny of the title out of their hands and put it in Wigan's. Defeat for Salford would hand Bradford and Featherstone the chance to catch them up in the race to beat the drop tomorrow. Two sides very much in need of a boost. And two sides who in their time have each employed the services of my partner this afternoon, Peter Tonks.
Good afternoon, Clive. Yes, well, I think it's very important today to see who scores first. It's going to be a big psychological boost. Salford started so well this season, but lately they've dropped right off in their attempt to stay in the First Division, and Leeds, after last week, need a morale-boosting start to this game.
Number 10 is Jed Stasica, the former Wigan player. Leeds are offside there, and an early opportunity here for Salford. And an early rise in the temperature out in the middle.
Well, there's no absence of feeling out there today. Paul Dixon and David Young, former teammates. Paul was there to greet him, but he got away a little bit too soon for the referee's liking, and this really should be a gift, 2 points to Salford.
Kevin Tamity says that he couldn't have asked for more of David Young since he signed him in the summer. Spent 15 months at Leeds and made just 6 starts in their senior side. He's already played twice as much football for Salford this season. Now Martin Burkitt has taken over the kicking responsibilities from the out-of-favour Steve Kerry, the league's leading point scorer last season. Bang in front of the post. Safely through the middle. And an early lead for Salford with Martin Burkitt's 55th successful goal kick of the season.
Interesting to see how David Fell shapes up today. Wayne Reid has been a bargain buy from Wigan at the start of the year, and it's no coincidence that their great early season form coincided with a great run by him. But David Fell's in the hot seat today, and a lot will depend on him, his duel with Gary Schofield, to see the outcome of this game.
Schofield restarts. John Gilfillan, Tex Evans, the ever-popular Salford right wing. Fell going on from acting half-back. Mark Lee. It'll be Peter Williams again. Phil Ford. Leeds way. Ford interfered with by Arthur Bradshaw.
Silly mistake by Bradshaw there, because Salford have had a good kick and chase game early in this first half, and really Leeds haven't looked at home coming out of their own 45 yards. And really a silly mistake has put the pressure right off, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a try scored in this next set of 6.
5 minutes played, Salford leading by 2 points to 0. Sean Wayne taking the ball up strongly for Leeds. Gunn, Goulding, Schofield, Goulding again, nailed by Mick Worrell. Good field position though for Leeds. Roy Powell. Three men to bring him down. Goulding, long for Schofield, good ball. Kick through looking for Ford. Gibson chasing back there, and Gibson getting there.
Interesting to note, Clive, that Gary Schofield put that grubber into the end goal. Steve Gibson, very good fullback on his day, but he can be a little bit suspect with the ball on the ground. He's 6'3", and he finds it a little bit hard to get down to him sometimes.
This is the third time in 6 weeks that these two have met. Leeds won the first two over in Yorkshire, giving away another penalty for offside. In fact, they've won their last 6 matches with Salford, averaging close on 30 points a time. It's nearly 4 years since Leeds lost to the Red Devils. Peter Williams, who's missed his regular wing partner Adrian Hadley in the last few weeks. Hadley's carried some confident form over from the promotion season. David Young. Mick Worrell. Quite on the same wavelength as Cruikshank. The ball went forward out of his fingers. and it'll be a scrum.
The tap play that Salford were trying to work there is this new defensive system put in by Doug Lawton this year. It means a compressed line, and the wingers are often 15 metres in from the sideline, which advertises the space outside there. If Salford can get the ball outside there to their outside men, they're a chance of getting around this Leeds defence.
Salford have taken that against the head. Although Leeds have managed to deny David Cruikshank possession. Good strong push though by the Salford 6. Offside. David Fell, the victim of the referee's eagle eye. Doug Lawton said of Gary Schofield that he didn't realise just what a good player he was until he had the honour of taking over at Leeds. Rates him as one of the best 5 players in the world. Goulding feeding Schofield. Goulding again, trying to pick out Paul Dixon, who's been amongst the tries this season, but his handling let him down and Salford have it back. Strong burst by the Salford skipper Ian Blease. David Cruikshank, Arthur Bradshaw. Mick Worrell. You heard Kevin Tamity say in his team talk there that Salford have had some good opening halves against some very good opposition this season. They led it halfway in that Regal Trophy semi-final against Leeds and then lost their way early in the second half. And they had a very good first half over at Headingley on New Year's Day. They were only 2 points behind then at the halfway stage and were unfortunate to be behind. It's sustaining the effort over the 80 minutes that's been the problem for them in the last couple of months. Well, they lead by 2 points to 0, but Leeds are in possession with Morvin Edwards. Gary Devorty. Rugby League live from the Willows ground at Salford, where the home side lead championship pretenders Leeds by a single Martin Burkitt penalty with almost 10 minutes played. Ball went forward.
Well, already after 10 minutes, Clive, Leeds looking a long way from being the premiership leaders. I think that this game last week against Widnes, a 24-0 emphatic thrashing at their hands, has really left them a little bit shell-shocked, and they want to get back on the rails in the next 5 or 10 minutes because Salford can smell this, and you can see they're keen to attack them at every opportunity.
Here's Cruikshank to Fell. Doug Lawton had the option to make changes. He's got Gibson and Malloy, 2 very fine, highly valued players on the bench today. The likes of Cavill Hugh and Colin Maskell kicking their heels, waiting for their chance, but he's given a second chance to the team beaten in the final. Lee to Stasica. Really is a good, wholehearted player, Jez Stasica. Cruikshank fell. Cruikshank, plenty of men out wide. Blease trying to help it on very quickly. Martin Burkitt dropped it. But they loaded that left-hand side there, Salford, and there were possibilities if the pass had been better.
Well, yeah, both John Bentley and Phil Ford coming off their wing with this compressed style of defence we've spoken about. You can catch them short if you outnumber them, and they do come in off their wing.
Bobby Goulding. Just a reminder, if you want to enter our competition today, predict the final score of the match, a £250 prize on offer. That phone number 0898 500 112. 0898 500 112. You have as many goes as you like. You've got until the start of the second half to come up with your prediction. 2-0 to Salford is the current score. Stasica's seen plenty of the ball, and that's the way he likes it. Fell. Cruikshank. Fell. Well picked up by Peter Williams. Martin Burkitt on his shoulder. Well taken by Phil Ford. Got some help from Paul Dixon. On goes Bradshaw. 10 yards short. Mick Worrell. Ian Blease trying to take it on the burst, but might just have held on there. Looking to smuggle the ball clear, and it was knocked from his grasp.
A little bit worried by the absence of some of the Leeds forwards so early in the game here. Well, I've seen Sean Wayne taken up a couple of times with Venom, but the rest of the pack, Roy Powell, Paul Dixon, well, they really haven't been there to be very effective at this stage, and Jed Stasic is really showing him a thing or two about hard yardage work.
Good break, though, from the base of the ruck by Gunn. Goulding to Schofield. It's a little bit too close to Steve Gibson. There's no more striking a runner in the game. I don't think there's a longer stride in rugby league. Lee. On goes Cruikshank. Like Young, former Leeds player. Came over from Australia to Headingley a couple of years ago. And spells with Fulham and Lee last season. Good break again by Stasica. Outstanding player on the field in the opening 30 minutes. Lees. Williams taken. Lee. Got a good kicking game, the hooker. Morvin Edwards, though, was across to cover. Jed Stasica, in Kevin Tamity's word, a coach's dream. He tops all our statistics, yardage, tackles. He's such a brave and honest player, and an absolute bargain at £30,000 from Wigan in the summer. He's not the biggest forward in the world, but he thinks he's big, and he runs like he's big. Always crosses the advantage line. Kevin Tamity, the Salford coach, will watch the game from an elevated position behind the posts. In walkie-talkie contact with Terry Cassidy and Steve O'Neill down on the bench. This is Gary DeVorty. Morvin Edwards. Goulding. Schofield. That's well taken by David Creasy. He's made half a break. He's got Phil Ford to his outside, but he ran into Ford's territory. The two lead centres very mindful of the arrival of Craig Innes, who had another impressive outing in the A-team last night. Here's Irving. Good ball to Edwards. And a really good tackle coming across by David Fell. Edwards was looking for support, but what he saw was Fell bearing down on him.
Great effort from the former Laurel standoff there, David Fell. He's come in today as a replacement. He's had an injury-restricted season so far, but he showed just why he's putting so much pressure to get into this Salford 13.
Tex Evans coming in off the wing. Taken by Schofield. Fell. Worrell. Cruikshank. Almost slipped Roy Powell's tackle, and that takes some doing. He misses about one a season, the big man. And there's Lee kicking again from dummy half, and that's a real feature of his play, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, he was a £14,500 buy from St Helens A-team, and since Mark's come here, he's really come on in leaps and bounds. He calls a lot of the plays from dummy half, which is unusual in rugby league, and he controls their kicking game. And you just saw then he gained 50 yards with one from dummy half, and that's very effective.
There's Kevin Tamity looking on from his vantage point. And there's the scoreline, which will give him some source of satisfaction. Salford 2, Leeds 0. Salford are getting a real drive on in these scrums. Rugby union influence is spreading. Here's Steve Gibson. David Fell. Jed Stasica again. Mick Worrell. We have two footballing number 13s in the old style today, Mick Worrell and Gary Devorty, both ball playing loose forwards. Lee with a little kick. Tex Evans is waiting. Good covering play by John Bentley. That'll be a good contest down this side today. Bentley's in rich form. Evans is scoring tries like it's going out of fashion. Referee actually gave a penalty for a push by Evans on Bentley. Whatever happened to Leeds in the Cup last week, they've been the outstanding championship team of the season. 2 of their 3 defeats by just a couple of points. Only Warrington have beaten them by more than a single score in championship football. They have far and away the best defensive record in Division 1. They've actually conceded half as many points as Salford this season. Paul Dixon. Oh, the solid challenge this time by Peter Williams. Gary Schofield will kick. Gibson has 10 metres of grace under the offside law. And because there was no marker, Gibson's able to play the ball to himself. Here's Cruikshank, looking for Burkitt. Oh, he's broken Ford's tackle. He's got support. It's David Fell. Ford got there eventually. He missed the first one, but he got the second. Cruikshank. So many options, he couldn't make his mind up. Stazziger to Worrell. No support, and Worrell looking around, lost concentration. The ball was jolted out of his hold.
You get the impression as the longer this game goes on, Clive, that Leeds feel they have a pace advantage out in the centres with Gil Fillon and Peter Williams not overly blessed for speed for Salford. But the trouble is, until their forwards like Mike O'Neill and Paul Dixon come in and roll their sleeves up and get rolling over that advantage line, they really can't throw the ball out wide and get around them.
Goulding finding Dixon. Ball went forward. We're midway through the first half. It's tight. Salford in red with a 2-point advantage, but a penalty given against them. Mark Lee just establishing with the referee exactly what he's been penalised for.
Not too much good asking them what's going on and why he did it, because I haven't seen too many of those referees change their minds lately, Clive.
Goulding. Roy Carl offering himself this time. Leeds line very deep. Bobby Goulding. Gary Schofield. Gary Devorty. Well taken by Cruikshank. Edwards. Schofield getting involved. Richard Gunn. Bobby Goulding. Long for Dixon, couldn't gather it. It's the second time he's filled it in a promising position. And Tex Evans lays claim to possession for Salford. Here goes Fell. Salford have got a problem with their scrum half, David Cruikshank, who's had a couple of knee operations already this season. You may spot him wearing a blue bandage around his right knee. And I have a feeling that he may have to be replaced soon. In possession and kicking, but not moving at all freely. Morvin Edwards. Salford have a ready-made replacement in halfback Frank Cassidy. Here's Phil Ford.
Speaking of subs, I wouldn't be surprised to see Steve Malloy warming up in the not-too-distant future. Doug Lawton might be regretting his decision to stick with the original 13 from last week. They've shown nothing at this stage to say that they're going to change anything that went wrong for them last week, and I think the injection of Malai might get them a little bit more go forward.
Schofield. Steve Gibson. Well taken by Devorty. Tackle save Leeds 8 or 10 yards, and it's got them a scrum down as Evans fumbles at dummy half.
Crucial mistake by Tex Evans there. A prolific try scorer, Tex, but has been known to make the odd, very, very fundamental error like that knock on the first tackle from dummy half. In a super competitive first division, those sort of mistakes can be the difference between staying up and getting relegated at the end of the division, at the end of the competition.
It's given Leeds a base camp inside the Salford 25. Sean Wade. That's the sort of extra yardage that Doug Lawton's looking for from the big men up front. Gary Devorty, Mike O'Neill. He's been around a while, Mike O'Neill, 31 years of age now, but he's also always had an extra little bit of pace. This is the view of the Salford defence as Gary Schofield tries to worm a way in and feeds Morgan Edwards, but the ball had gone forward. Edwards' effort disallowed. Interesting character, Morgan Edwards. He idolised Kevin Tamity as a boy. They both played for the same club side, Upper Hutt, on the outskirts of Wellington, and Kevin actually used to work with Morgan's dad in the Dunlop factory in Wellington. Families are very close. Far apart this afternoon, with Edwards in the number 1 shirt for Leeds and Tamity in charge of Salford. It was Schofield who made the inroads here, Peter.
Yeah, well, it was a good run. Schofield drifted across and he just waited for the Salford defence to hang off him, which, it nearly did. He nearly got through, and then Tex Evans had come in off his wing and he breathed a big sigh of relief because his mistake 15 metres upfield had given them a chance to score that try.
Here's Edwards again. We're in the 25th minute of this first half, and that early penalty by Martin Burkitt still separating the two teams. Salford 2, Leeds 0. John Bentley, Phil Ford. Gary Schofield. Sean Wade. Goulding, Schofield, Goulding again. But play's been pulled all the way back because the touch judge is in from the far side. Stan Jackson has spotted something which he wants to pass on to Russell Smith, the man in the middle. Jury's out.
Looks like there might have been some sort of altercation there at the play of the ball regarding Sean Wayne. He might have taken offence to something that one of the Salford players did or said, and he's been called out, which is a stupid mistake when in possession of the ball. There's plenty of time when they've got the ball. You can drop the shoulder into them and get back that way, but certainly no need to retaliate or open your mouth.
Referee just making a note of the substitution, which, as we expected, is Frank Cassidy replacing David Cruikshank. There's Wayne, number 8. Arthur Bradshaw and Jed Stazika with the tackles, and Stazika was leaning on a little bit. And I think Wade eventually took the law into his own hands once he was out of camera. They're very aware, these rugby league players.
Surprising this afternoon for sheer enthusiasm. Salford are streets ahead of Leeds, and I really can't put my finger on this lack of enthusiasm in the Leeds lineup. They've got a £1 million team out there, but they're certainly playing like cellar dwellers at the moment.
Here's Arthur Bradshaw. Dixon was looking for him a bit then. 2-0 Salford lead. If you can predict the final score, give us a ring on 0898 500 112. 0898 500 112 before the start of the second half, and today's £250 prize could be yours. John Bentley. And this just sums up John Bentley's season so far. He's so elusive. Irving, Goulding, O'Neill. And that run by Bentley could be just what Leeds need to give them a lift. They certainly need to move up a gear, and Bentley's playing well enough to come into contention for a tour place, in the opinion of Doug Lawton, who admits that he didn't really rate him when he arrived at the club, but that Bentley's cut out some of the silly things from his play, cleaned up his act a little bit, and has become one of the very best wingers in the game.
David Young very keen to carry on the conversation with Paul Dixon. He started earlier in the game there, and he certainly came in with a bit of a late high challenge, and the referee has pulled him out here, and really temper's starting to flare a bit here. There's been a few silly mistakes and a few late tackles, and there's a few ex-players on both sides here, and you can certainly tell that the temperatures are starting to fray a little bit.
Young it was who arrived last on the scene. Mike O'Neill was the one who caught it, and things progressed from there. 28 minutes gone. Salford 2, Leeds 0. Leeds in possession with Bentley again. Good tackle low down by David Young. Goulding, Schofield, Dixon. Again, well dealt with by Fell and Worrell. Salford defence has been good so far. Gary DeVorty. Goulding, Schofield, Irving. O'Neill tried to take it out of his hands. Irving goes on. Blease was across. Goulding looking to go it alone. Jones retrieved it. Still the fifth tackle, and that's why Schofield has to kick. It's a teaser, and it's been collected, and Leeds have scored.
Well, I think that might have been Paul Dixon there that came chasing. Was it Simon Irving or Paul Dixon?
It's Gary DeVorty, I think.
Gary DeVorty, well, there you are. But that was a great kick from Gary Schofield. Really, against the run of play, Salford have had by far the better territorial of this half. Their enthusiasm kick and chase game has been top class, but it just shows you the class of someone like Gary Schofield. He sized the situation up on the fifth tackle, put a towering bomb up. Gibson was nowhere. He didn't judge it at all well. And DeVorty came flying through, and that just shows you why he was worth £120,000 from Hull.
He was in the air for so long.
Well, I thought they might have tried the little grubber kick on the fifth tackle, but Gary Schofield, beautifully judged kick. Gibson couldn't see it. He was obscured by the goalpost, and DeVorty, what a great take.
Tremendous athleticism and tremendous concentration from DeVorty. Watching the ball all the way. And gathering it in to score his fourth try of the season for Leeds. Who needs Hanley? Simon Irving with an attempt to improve the try. Number 41 of the season for Simon Irving. The first try of the match improved. And thanks to Gary DeVorty's awareness and athleticism, Leeds have a 6-2 advantage. Salford 2, Leeds 6. We're into the last 10 minutes of the first half. And Gary Schofield, Rugby League's Player of the Year last season, has made his mark on the game with a really towering kick, brilliantly seized upon by DeVorty. A lot of nonsense at the play the ball at the moment.
Silly mistake from Ian Blease. As the Salford skipper, he should be the one in there trying to settle things down, and really what they've done is just let Leeds get off the hook, and Schofield puts it out there. They're going to end up in Salford's half, and that's wasted pressure.
Here comes Steve Malloy as predicted. Paul Dixon is the man who's going to make way for now. Of course, players substituted in Rugby League can return a maximum of 4 substitutions per team during a game. Malloy for Dixon is Leeds first. Former Warrington forward, left out of the team for the Regal final last Saturday, and nobody on the field will be keener to make a point to the coach than Steve Malloy, the substitute. Here's Schofield. Here is Malloy. Remember how disappointed he was when he was left out of Warrington's Wembley lineup back in 1990 for the Challenge Cup final, and that precipitated his departure from Wilderspool. He's had to swallow his pride and accept Doug Lawton's decision. Now he's got a chance to do something about it. Gibson. Young. Leeds. Lee. It was awkward. It bounced right between Phil Ford and Morgan Edwards and got an ugly kick away from the pair of them. Gilding. Morgan Edwards. Wall with the tackle. Precept. Irving. Schofield. Here's Malloy. Powell. Tackled that time by Lee. Wade. And that try just seems to put an extra ounce or two into each Leeds drive. Schofield finding Gibson this time. Here's Tex Evans. Stasica. Haven't seen quite so much of him in the last 10 minutes or so. Fell.
I'd like to see a little bit more of Mick Worrell at this stage, Clive. He's got the ability to break over in any defence in this division, and certainly in the first 15 minutes we saw him touch the ball a few times, and there we are again.
That was a better ball for Blaze, and here's Worrell again, and he's given Tex Evans a running opportunity. Schofield's across. Evans has got Gilfillan in support. Fifth tackle. Salford really could do with coming out with something here. It's Lee looking long for Bradshaw. Support from Burkitt. Really good tackle by Creaser. Bradshaw keeping it alive. Stolen though by Mike O'Neill.
Well, that's a case in point of a player doing something you don't usually see. I'm sure Arthur Bradshaw hasn't chipped over and regathered too many times in his career, and he would have been much better off holding onto the ball and letting one of the other players in the Salford backline try and go on with that movement.
I think in fairness they were on the final tackle there. And Bradshaw just chanced his arm.
Is it obviously a planned move, Clive?
Number 15 is Andy Burgess, the Salford forward substitute, although I understand that Peter Williams is the man who's going to make way for him. Good to see Burgess back. He's only played twice in the last 3 months because of ankle problems. He was the regular number 13 in the promotion season last season when he represented Great Britain at under 21 level. Useful prospect, he's still only 21.
That last penalty was another case in point of Mick Worrell just had a little bit to say in the referee's ear there, and a silly penalty off the ball, and I'm sure Kevin Tamerley have a few words to say to one or two of his forwards when they go in at half-time.
Here's Steve Malloy. Gunn to De Forti. Now Schofield. Now Goulding. O'Neill. Goulding keeping it. That support from Creaser. Irving. Schofield. Devorty. Powell. They've got a man over. Malloy. Oh, and they've just moved it a little bit quicker. Bentley would have been in. Reached him eventually. John Bentley has to take the ring road.
Great smother tackle by Tex Evans before. 2-on-1. He left his wing and he came in and saved a certain try.
Still possibilities. Mike O'Neill. Schofield. Salford are not nailing their men at the moment. Worrell got to Schofield eventually. Gunn. Worrell again with a tackle, scooped up by Schofield. He's got Wayne in, and Leeds have scored again. Just over 2 minutes of the first half remaining, and Sean Wayne stretches the lead. His first try since the opening day of the season. And Goulding and Schofield are now starting to take charge.
This is one of the reasons why Doug Lawton rates Gary Schofield as one of the top 5 players in the world. Absolutely nothing on here. Richard Gunn goes from dummy half. Lucky to squeeze a pass out at the last second. Gary Schofield picks it up off his toes. He just again waits for the defence to make its mind up. Pulls through one tackle and a beautiful out the back pass. Sean Wayne, very good for a prop forward backing up and a simple try.
Was that exactly what Schofield meant to do?
Yeah, well, he could obviously see that he was dropping off back inside him, Sean Wayne. He drifts across here, gets the defence committed, and bang, out the back door. Just looks there. That is why he is one of the top-class world players.
That's eyes in the back of the head, that. He shaped to give the conventional pass, didn't he? He saw Wayne coming the other side of him.
Just notice how he shows it. He shows it as a left-to-right pass, just to baffle the defence there. See Sean Wayne cutting back inside at the last minute, pops it up inside, and that's an easy 4 points.
Sean Wayne scored at Norton Park back on the first day of the season, September the 1st, and that's his first try since. Irving with a chance to put Leeds 10 points clear, and he's pulled it. 10-2 though in Leeds' favour, and they've just started to find themselves in the last 10 minutes.
Well, Gary Schofield on both occasions, they found it very difficult to breach the Salford defence in this half, but Gary Schofield realised earlier on he'd try and go over the top, and it came up with 6 points, and this time he's just opened them like a can of sardines there, opened a big hole for Sean Wayne to just amble through.
There's some pass. Last minutes of the first half. Salford 2, Leeds 10. Tries from Gary Devorte and Sean Wayne. And Salford, who started brightly, play with a lot of spirit and a lot of gusto for the first quarter, have just come up against a bit of a class barrier, and it's Gary Schofield who's had that extra touch of class. A perfect kick and a perfect pass. They've added up to 10 points. Gunn. Schofield again. Steve Gibson. No way through for Burkitt. Here's David Young. Plenty of old friends coming to meet him every time he gets the ball, David Young. Here's Jed Stasica. A lot more commitment from Leeds in the second quarter. It's almost as if the arrival of Steve Malloy has just acted as a little reminder to those players out in the middle. Bentley.
He really is an excitement machine, John Bentley, and I notice a few times this year that Doug Lawton has used him at number 3 or number 4, and the more often this fella gets the ball, the more often I think the fans will get to their feet.
Half-time, Puta has gone, and Leeds have come good in the closing 10 minutes of the first half. Try by Gary Devorte on the half hour, A try by Sean Wayne just before the break. It's 10 points to 2 in Leeds' favour. Peter Williams, the Salford centre, is now with Ian Frame.
Peter Williams, that was a bad time really for Leeds to score.
Yeah, it's never a good time for anybody to score, but just before half-time it's even worse for us, so we've got to get a good talking to in the changing room, come back, see if we can get a victory we need.
What do you think Kevin Tamati will say at half-time?
I think he's trying to make sure we cut down on our mistakes. We're making too many really in our own half, and we've got to make sure we've got to get some pressure on Leeds and force them to make some errors.
And the knee?
It's just given way, I've got to bang on it, hopefully I'll get back on.
There we go, so don't go away, we're back in a moment with our half-time inquest, and don't forget the phone line 0898 500 112. See you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to the Willows. Salford unfortunately trailing 2 points to 10. Here's Phil Larder to take us through the first half tries.
Well, the difference in this game has been Gary Schofield. Here you see him on the sixth play, but an absolutely superb bomb up, very, very accurate, close to the posts. A chase in numbers by the Leeds players, and Devotee scores. If we look at it again for the second time, this is the sixth player was disappointed that Schofield wasn't put under far more pressure than that, and certainly Gibson needed far more protection. But an excellent try, emphasising the skills of this game are so important. The second try was again Schofield. He's tackled there, close to the left-hand side. The third play, I think this one is. A good play of the ball, the hooker takes it in, and there he's able to offload. Schofield supports, stands up Gibson, and then a superb back flick to Sean Wayne, and over you go. The difference in this game at the moment is down to one man, the individual skills of Gary Schofield.
What about the statistics, Phil?
Well, the statistics, as you could imagine, are pretty close. As far as penalties are concerned, Leeds received 8 in comparison to Salford's 4. The errors in play, Salford made 7, Leeds made 6. The biggest difference, and the telling factor, was time in possession. Salford only had the ball 13 minutes, Salford had it for 21. That meant that Salford had far more tackling to do, and it also created far more opportunities for Leeds to do something with the ball.
Well, Leeds, of course, winning 10 points to 2. Are you impressed with their performance?
Not at all. I was in the Leeds dressing room beforehand, Eamon. They looked exceptionally nervous after last week's defeat. And certainly, as Peter Tunks has emphasised in his commentary, the forwards aren't really establishing any dominance in there. They're not hitting the vantage line. 1 or 2 of them are going missing. I've also, apart from those 2 instances, been a little bit critical of Gary. I don't think he's run at the opposition enough. Gary Schofield, when he's running at the opposition, is the best standoff in the world.
What about the Salford forwards? Are they a little suspect today? We can see them in the dressing room now. What will Kevin be saying to them now?
I think Kevin will be emphasising that they've got to control the ball, they've got to gain territorial advantage, and certainly they're not going to win this match if Leeds have the predominance of possession. They've got to get hold of that ball, they've got to control it, and I'm sure when they do that, they've got the footballers in there to convert the time into points.
There's no penetration really from Salford, is there? Although they were very impressive in the first, say, 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, and at times they've forced the football and coughed it up. There seems to be a little bit of discrepancy between Cruikshank and McWarrell. A couple of times you could see that set pieces, they hadn't timed it quite right. Probably it's only his second time back after injury, and perhaps that pattern has not been quite established.
Tunks, what do you think of it so far?
Well, we've certainly have Leeds with a mountain of possession, but they really haven't looked dangerous in possession. Gary Schofield obviously being the difference between the 2 sides at this stage. I think that Salford have had a couple of very good attacking opportunities, and they've identified Phil Ford's wing as a weakness. They've worked to it a couple of times, and unfortunately they haven't been able to put Burkett away. But I think if they get to that blind side, watch them to try and attack it again this half, and they need to get back into this game in the first 5 or 10 minutes with the score to make a game of it.
What do you think the Salford forwards need to do now?
Well, the Salford forwards, for mine, have been dominating this game. When Malloy came into the game, he certainly gave Leeds a much needed injection of go-forward power. But I really think Stasica and some of the Salford forwards have been teaching them a lesson about yardage play and tough defence at this stage.
OK, the teams are coming out now. Will Salford be too nervous to pull anything out of their hat here now, Peter?
Well, the difference at the back of the scrum, at the standoff, we've got Gary Schofield. He's a world-class player. Have Salford got anyone to match him? I don't think they have. Maybe Mick Worrell if he pulls a couple of bits of magic out of his bag, but whether he's fit enough after a 5-week layoff, I don't know.
OK, down at the touchline now, Doug Lawton is talking to Ian Frame.
Well, you must be feeling happier now than you were midway through the first half, Doug.
Yeah, we did start off rather poorly, but we're in front and I hope we can stay there.
Things are looking a bit brighter now, aren't they?
Yeah, there's a long way to go yet, though. Another 40 minutes yet, so we'll be happy if they score at the end of the game.
Certainly it looks as though they have shrugged off the hangover from the Regal Trophy final.
And I'll tell you that after the end of the game. I hope so. Okay.
Change your tactics at all, or what?
No.
There we go. Second half of the match now. Here's Clive Tilsley.
Thank you, Eamon. Leeds have actually won their last 6 First Division matches. Salford have lost 5 of their last 6. They've scored almost as many points as Leeds in Championship football this season, but their Regal Trophy adventures left them with a bit of a Championship hangover. Swinton, the bottom club of the solitary team that they've beaten in the league during the last 6 weeks, they're now just 2 points clear of the dropping zone. So victory for them, if anything, even more important today than it is for Leeds in their bid to close the gap on Wigan at the top. Steve Malloy, who's stayed in the action for the start of this second half, and no wonder, he certainly gave Leeds a lift when he came on as a substitute. Here's Sean Wayne. Richard Gunn. Bobby Goulding with a good burst. He's got support from Gary Devorty. Goulding might not need him. He's going to kick instead. There's a chance for John Bentley, and he's just overrun the ball a little bit.
Well, a poor option from Bobby Goulding there. He had men on his inside unmarked. All he had to do was draw Gibson, but he looked outside. He decided to put the grubber kick through, and really that was 6 points gone wasted.
Goulding had Devorty to his right, but he chose the quicker man, Bentley, to his left, but he couldn't pass to Bentley. He had to kick for him, and the cover was across, and Salford just managed to block it out in the corner.
It's probably the first time we've seen either Goulding or Schofield attack the defensive line today, and Goulding, he's not the fastest man around, but he certainly is strong with his stocky frame. You see Devorty looming up on his inside. He saw him there and he just totally ignored him, and he decided to kick the through for Bentley, and really that was the wrong decision.
Steve Gibson just made it difficult for Bentley. Too difficult to profit. The Leeds are back in possession with David Creaser. He's played more games this season, Creaser, than in any of the previous 4. He's had a terrible time with injuries right in the prime of his career. Steve Malloy. Irving. Gunn. Wayne. Good break. Irving's managed to keep it. The ball had just gone forward off Sean Wayne.
Well, noticeable to see that Leeds' front men have started to put a bit more power into the game, which is what they need. They've got some classy backs, but no one's any good if you're not going forward over that advantage line. I wouldn't be surprised to see Paul Dixon injected into the game 15 or 20 minutes time for Mike O'Neill. He's been very quiet today.
Cruikshank. Cassidy tackle. Gibson. Lee. Young. It's a bit more like it. Here's Mick Worrell. Salford looking to him for that extra little bit of creativeness which Schofield has given Leeds. He's managed to get them a penalty. Malloy leaning on after the tackle. Came back last Sunday after a month out, Mick Worrell. He had injuries at the start of the season too, but Salford's back row has been one of the strong suits of their game this season. The referee penalising Devorty as much as Malloy. Jed Stasica. Davy Young. Here's Worrell. Cassidy was at his shoulder there, but Worrell was unable to smuggle the pass out to him. That's the kind of heartbreak that Worrell can make. Bentley prepared to volunteer for a little bit of the forwards duties. Schofield, Malloy. O'Neill. 5 minutes of the second half gone. It's Salford 2, Leeds in possession 10. Gary Devorty, the scorer of the first Leeds try. Roy Powell. Fifth tackle. It's for Schofield to kick. He's kicked close to Gibson for much of the day. He had a break last summer for the first time in his 8 years as a professional player, Gary Schofield, and such is the intensity of the game at the level that he plays that you need that kind of recess, really, just to freshen up and give the limbs a rest. And Schofield's come back and really taken on responsibility in the absence of Ellery Hanley for Leeds this season. Here's Morgan Edwards. Oh, a good break by Edwards. He's run all the way through and he's got Bobby Goulding in support. Phil Ford's crying for it too, but it'll be Bobby Goulding's try. Ford will take over, and the reason that they gave that to Phil Ford is that that is his 200th try in rugby league. It's a landmark that he's been waiting for, and a landmark that Bobby Goulding was happy to hand him on a plate. But it's some break when you're able to take that kind of luxury and wait for the right man to come forward and score the try. Well, Morgan Edwards did the damage.
What Kevin Tamati would to have available, the big Welsh winger Adrian Hadley. The one thing that this try and this great break both from Morgan Edwards points out is their lack of pace at Salford. Bobby Goulding, he backs up, and really I don't think Dougie Lawton would have been too impressed with that, but they got away with it. But Morgan Edwards, look at the kick return here. Now it's quite a good kick from Burkett, but have a look at the chase through from the Salford players. Edwards gets it. He's lucky he's got his winger forward who drops back to give him good support, but the man there, it was Cruikshank on the inside. He wasn't quick enough to get to him, and then it was very ragged defence. A very, very broken line. There was no cover coming across, and that was a very simple 6 points, and that could effectively put Salford out of this clash.
14 points separating the two sides, thanks to Simon Irving's 42nd goal of the season. But Phil Ford, number 200, in a most colourful career. He made his league debut 11 years ago last week as a Warrington player, and now the double century comes up after this break right through the heart of the Salford cover from Morgan Edwards. And once he'd made that initial inroad, Salford were wide open, and Goulding just waited for Ford to arrive on the scene, and there's number 200. (16-2) the Leeds advantage, and Salford are in need of miracles now.
Paul Dixon just coming on to replace Roy Powell there, and it's touches of John Mooney with the Wigan forward pack. He's rotating his forwards to make sure that they all remain fresh and to get the best out of them.
Gibson, now can he do an Edwards? There's the answer. David Creaser solid in the tackle. Victory at the Willows may be seen as a measure of title credentials this season. St Helens, Widnes and Castleford are the only three teams who've beaten Salford at home, and they're of course all still eyeing the championship. Of course Wigan lost here, lost twice in a couple of weeks in November, but they haven't lost since, and they're back next week on the road to Wembley. Challenge Cup tie here, Salford v Wigan. 9 minutes of the second half played, and Leeds have some breathing space. But a great break by Morvin Edwards, who was first spotted by Doug Lawton a couple of years ago when he went down under to sign up Amosi Koloto, and actually recommended Edwards to Swinton at the time. And he guested with them 3 years ago it is now. But it was something of a surprise move when Doug Lawton moved for Morvin Edwards, but he knew what he was buying. This is Devorty. Salford undone once more. Pass inside, and Goulding will take it on his own this time. That's mine. 2 tries in the opening 10 minutes of the second half. End of the contest.
Well, I think we could be seeing a white towel coming over the ropes at any stage now. It really does look that the challenge from Salford has just withered away and died here. They seem to be able to break them at will, and this try really just came from outnumbering them on the left flank there. Some poor attempts at tackling. Here we have, we look at the Salford fellas coming across. They've got the numbers, they just stroll through these tackles. He comes in off his wing, Evans, which leaves, is it Morvin Edwards free again? A great pass to the inside. Devorty, what a game he's having. He gets the ball back inside, sees that the inside man was well marked there, Irving. Bobby Goulding, hasn't he come to life in the second 40 minutes?
20 points to 2, the Leeds advantage. And once again, it was Morvin Edwards making an extra man on the outside who created the problems.
Watch Gary Devorty here. Gets through one tackle there. Beautiful ball out there. He's back there backing up now. Look, the Salford defence has come back in, and Simon Irving is blocked there, but his vision is great. He looks over the top of that, can see Bobby Goulding, all 5'5" of him, and Bobby Goulding strolls around to improve the position for Simon Irving to convert.
Here is Irving then. Right straight through the middle. Irving successful for the 3rd time this afternoon. Bobby Goulding's 7th try of the season, his 6th for Leeds.
Simple passing movement here, but look at the Salford defenders are not sliding across. Gets through one very brittle tackle there. Morvin Edwards back inside now. Look at Bobby Goulding looming up on the inside. Devorty reads it perfectly. The defence, Evans, he doesn't know which way he's being turned there.
Still only 19 years of age, Bobby Goulding. And Morvin Edwards, the key man in the 2 lead scores in the opening 10 minutes of this second half, which have extended their advantage to 22 points to 2. Carl Gibson out in the middle for the first time, the Leeds back substitute. Leeds have replaced Simon Irving, sat alongside Roy Powell there. Steve Gibson.
You probably wonder if Kevin Tamati at this stage would like to switch Martin Burkett from the wing, where he's being less effective and hasn't had many running opportunities this game, but he's looking to get one right now.
Here is
much more effective in the centre position. I'm sure if they can get some ball to him, he may well be able to put a couple of breaks on.
Cassidy. Here is Burkett again, certainly hungry for the ball. And nothing much that Kevin Tamati can do to change the course of proceedings now. It was Doug Lawton who actually brought Kevin Tamati into British football, signed him as a witness player. 5th tackle. Lee's kick. Evans' pursuit. Mark Lee just trying to thread the ball through for Tex Evans, who's actually scored in 8 of his last 9 championship matches.
What a difference to the first half here. In the first half, you couldn't find many of the Leeds forwards willing to take the ball up. Now they're queuing up.
Devorty well halted that time by Gil Fillan. Goulding. Gibson just had to watch it bouncing on its merry way to more yardage gain for Leeds. And Goulding and Schofield really are controlling proceedings now. But he said he was 5'5". I'll tell him that, Peter.
That was with his build-up shoes on.
In Blease. He'll keep running and looking and searching. The heart and soul of this club, the skipper. They've missed him during his injury problems in recent week. And although it's been important to have Lee here and Blease back in the pack today, you have to make allowances for players coming back from injury at this level of football. Inevitably going to take 2 or 3 games to find their match sharpness again. For Burkitt now rather belatedly. This is Fell.
I'd like to see Mick Worrell getting on the fringes of the ruck and having people like Blease coming off him. Instead of Blease getting the first pass, he should be used as a runner. He's much more devastating.
Gibson on the last tackle this. Tex Evans unable to gather it. Ball went forward. It'll be a handover. It's the 6th tackle. Leeds possession. Carl Gibson. Mick Worrell's a test player, of course. Tourist for Great Britain back in 1984, and he had 2 outstanding games against Wigan here in November when Salford caused those 2 almighty upsets in the Regal Trophy and then in the Stone Spitter Championship. Wayne. Schofield. Dixon. Schofield again. O'Neill. Fifth tackle. Schofield with another bomb. Quite as good as the one which produced the try for Devorty, although Devorty's gathered in and he set up Gibson, but the ball went forward, and again nobody attacked the ball for Salford at all. Devorty barely had to jump. Schofield pulling the strings. Steve Gibson, and it's 1 at a time now for Salford. They're looking a bit dispirited. Spirit is one of their best qualities as a side. "17 minutes of the second half gone, 22-2 Leeds in front." Let's hear from Ian Frame down on the touchline in front of the benches.
Leeds might have built up an impressive lead, but certainly Doug Lawton isn't satisfied yet. He still looks very, very serious and stern, sat on the bench as well with his side people alongside him. As for Salford, well, assistant coach Terry Cassidy is in constant contact with Kevin Tamati, stood by the side of the scoreboard, and they're swapping ideas and tactics and wondering whether it's time to change a few things now.
Might just be a little too late for changes. 20-point advantage for Leeds. And after a slumbering start to this match, the Lloyders really found themselves either side of half-time. 2 tries in the closing 10 minutes of the first half, 2 tries in the opening 10 minutes of the second. Andy Burgess. We're live at the Willows for a crucial Stone Spitter Championship match. But Salford's relegation problems are deepening as Leeds' title efforts start now to gather new momentum in the wake of that disappointing Regal Trophy defeat last weekend. Sean Wayne. Support from Phil Ford. Managed to elude Burkitt, and Lee was nailed in the end by Cruikshank. Creaser to Goulding. Schofield. Lovely width about the Leeds passing. Well, Gary Schofield not quite able to live up to the billing then. Malloy with the juggling act. Richard Gunn. He's been at Leeds 8 years now, Gunn. This is the best sustained run that he's had in the team. Bobby Goulding going for a point, and Bobby Goulding adding a point. It was the 5th tackle, and Goulding decided that one was better than nothing, and it's important to come back with something when you're putting pressure on. 23-2.
Really a very dispirited Salford team at the moment. You look at their 2 markers, they hardly even managed to get out and try and cause any interference with that field goal attempt at all, and Bobby Goulding had all the time in the world to just put an easy point and extend their lead by 21 points.
Drop goal from Bobby Goulding. And Leeds now just accumulating the score, which will be noted by the other championship challengers before they prepare for battle tomorrow afternoon. Here's Gunn again. Looking down on the Willows, and looking down on Leeds, finding themselves again. Wick's a long time in rugby league. They went to Bramley for a Challenge Cup preliminary round tie in midweek, which was fogged off, and when you've had a big setback like last weekend, you can't wait to get out there in the middle again. And after a nervy sort of start, some of those frustrations from Central Park spilling out now at Salford's expense. Steve Malloy gathering the ball and getting a knock from Tex Evans. Knee on head. He's big enough. Cassidy, Bill Fillan, Cassidy again, Gibson in the line, but a move which just wasn't carried out with any authority or belief. Cassidy, Worrell, Cruikshank, Blease, Burgess, Gibson, kept alive by Young, and here goes Andy Burgess. He's managed to smuggle it out, and Gibson has got Burkitt in at the corner, and Salford at large shows what they can do when they move the ball wide to Martin Burkitt.
Bit of broken field play here, and the big thing to look out for here is Andy Burgess, the sub who's came on in the first half here today. He was a regular in the side last year, a very talented young forward. What we've got here, we've just got a simple hit up. There's nothing special on, they take it to the Leeds line. Gibson flicks it back inside, Young throws it back, Burgess sights the opening, and look at the pace over a short distance of this loose forward. Beautiful ball out the side to Gibson, and he just flicks it onto Martin Burkitt with the overlap, and he just does all that's necessary. Watch here, watch for Andy Burgess' positioning. There's nothing really on. Salford know that they're outgunned for pace all over the paddock here. They're trying to get through. A hole opens in the middle of the park. It was poor defence from Leeds. Andy Burgess puts the burners on, turns around, finds Gibson again, out to Burkitt. It's the simplest of tries for the winger.
Burkitt would have liked to have taken it round behind the post for no other reason than the fact that he's the Salford kicker. And he's pulled that one well wide. But it's Burkitt's 15th try of the season, which is his best ever return in a rugby league campaign. But Andy Burgess, the man who's set it all up.
Salford have been at their best this year when they've been broken field play, and I've been very disappointed today with the 2 halves. I know that Cruikshank's been out with injury for a while, and he's come back and he looks to have put on about 7 or 8 pounds, and He's certainly lost a yard or two. It's something Kevin Tammany will have to look at during the week. They've got to get back to this broken field play, keeping the ball alive and trying to break up defences.
Salford need 3 more scores if they're to somehow pull this out. But they're fast running out of time, just over a quarter of an hour remaining, and 23-6 is the Leeds advantage. But certainly, as you were saying, Peter, during that Regal Trophy run against Wigan and against Leeds too in the semi-final, they played some very adventurous football, didn't they? Keeping the ball alive, taking chances, but at that time it was all coming off for them.
Well, like anything, injury can ruin any team's preparation, and certainly injuries to Cruikshank, Worrell, players like that, it really has taken momentum away from Salford. They did play some great broken field play early in the season, but at the moment you wouldn't recognise them with the same side.
Here goes Steve Malloy for Leeds. Oh, he might just drive all the way here. Evans trying to hang on to him. Goulding. Dixon. He's really plagued Salford this season with his opportunism, Paul Dixon. Gunn caught in possession. And Salford have it back with Jed Stasiker and now Tex Evans.
Certainly Evans has given his all for Salford today. You'd just like to think that maybe with a club higher up the Stones First Division Premiership, he could be a really impressive player, Tex Evans.
Cassidy. There is Evans. He's a big strapping lad, so much so that he has been used as a forward on occasions by Kevin Tammany. When he and Hadley are playing, they've got real size on the wings and pace. Five tackles in the drive. Lee looking to take a chance or two with Gilfillan, but ball stilled and Leeds have it back anyway.
There's an example of that off-the-cuff rugby. You've got Mark Lee at dummy half starting to dictate a bit of play. On the 5th tackle then, they elected to run the ball instead of kick it. They saw that the Leeds wingers had dropped back the long way, and they nearly came up with a big break down the right-hand flank.
Harry Hope, the touch judge, has picked out a Leeds offence here. Salford down at the right end of the field again.
Well, there we are at the handling errors, 10 each. It's been a scrappy game in some respects. Every time both these teams have put pressure on, they've let themselves down.
Now can Salford somehow conjure up something in these closing stages? David Gunn. Cassidy. Hounded down by Bobby Goulding. Not the ball forward in the process.
They've got the right idea, Salford. They see that they can outflank Leeds on both wings, but unfortunately the last two attacking moves there's been a Leeds hand involved, and it's back to 6 more tackles from a scrum.
This is their best period in the game for some time. David Cruikshank, seized upon by Ian Blease, tackled by Carl Gibson. Salford are given a penalty. Lee, Tex Evans, just short. Cassidy, Mick Worrell ran back into trouble. They had men over out wide. Cassidy will move it this time. Young trying to slip it out, but couldn't find Steve Gibson. The ball's run dead. Bentley.
Look at the ball. David Young does well here. He sees that the Leeds defence has come up. He's got 2 men in the tackle, turns and tries to pop it there, but Mike O'Neill just got his hand to the ball. The referee didn't see that, and unfortunately Steve Gibson couldn't hang on to it for a certain 6 points.
Here's Gary Devorty. It's his awareness under Schofield's kick 10 minutes before the break, which really got Leeds moving, and they've been moving in the right direction ever since.
You just get the feeling if Salford could get their way over the line here, they could come back into this game with a blend of that desperation, throw the ball anywhere rugby. On the other hand, you've got Leeds who scored a couple of good tries early in the half, but they seem to have gone back to sleep. They think they've done enough and the game was won, and if Salford can score that try, they might be in for a bit of a shock.
One feature of our coverage in the new year will be a Man of the Match award and a handsome trophy to whomever Peter Tunks selects as the outstanding player on the field. And as we enter the last 10 minutes, who are your main candidates, Peter?
Well, really, in the first 40 minutes, it was there was only one horse in the race, Gary Schofield, but really Gary's uninvolvement in the game, particularly his running side of his game, as Phil Larder pointed out at half-time, I really have a leaning towards Gary DeVorty. There still is 10 minutes to go, though. Anything could happen.
If Tex Evans scores 3 tries in that time, then he might just creep into the reckoning. Here's David Fell. 5th tackle, though. And 2/3 of the field still to cover. Kick by Burkitt. Edwards has had a good game too at fullback for Leeds. Here's John Bentley. We've got to catch him early. Taken on by Gibson. Kept alive beautifully. Goulding. Oh, he's brought it all back, the referee.
Well, I think that could be, there's nothing much in that really. And I thought it was a fair pass from up here, but then again, he's closer to the action than I am. And unfortunately, 6 points go begging for Leeds.
Carl Gibson was the man who was penalised. Russell Smith was a useful player actually in his schoolboys days. He played for England under the captaincy of Lee Crooks. And he was certainly close to the incident. He stopped it after the pass by Gibson.
It certainly looked like a good pass to me, but he's the man with the whistle, so we've got a penalty to Salford.
We're inside the last 10 minutes though. 23 points to 6 is the Leeds advantage. Cruikshank spilling the ball again. Here goes Paul Dixon. Very distinctive running action of Dixon's, and the boys will be boys.
Well, this is a bit of a schmozzle here. You've obviously got some of these Salford fellas a bit embarrassed at the scoreline here, and they're starting to drop a few elbows and knees into some of these tackles, and this is where the referee and the line's doing such an important job that they nip this in the bud. 1 or 2 fellas for 5 or 10 minutes in the sin bin would diffuse this situation, and it was like the ugly situation at St Helens last week, that referees need to stamp their authority on the game early.
It was all happening to the right. Now what will Russell Smith decide to do at this stage of affairs?
I think that Mike O'Neill saw something in the tackle, and he took a swing at one of the Salford players, and yes, it looks like Frank Cassidy's been penalised here for a bit of forearm and shoulder in the tackle. I think a case of a little bit too little too late.
Frank Cassidy's elder brother Terry is actually Kevin Tamitty's assistant coach at Salford. Still doesn't get him a place in the starting team. Terry Cassidy does some good work on behalf of Salford. He was involved at Wigan with the likes of Wayne Reid and Jed Stasica, and at Great Britain youth level with young Lee the hooker, and his eye for talent has saved Salford an awful lot of money. There is the Man of the Match trophy, which is awaiting Gary DeVorty at the moment, but the decision hasn't been taken. Somebody else may yet emerge. Jed Stasica. He's been running north-south all afternoon. Straight and hard. So too David Young. Cassidy. Burgess will give game chase, but Edwards is always the favourite. It's amazing really that in 18 seasons of the modern 2 Division Championship, Leeds have never come out on top. 5 times in 6 years they did it in the old First Division, in the late 60s and early 70s, when Hines and Seaborn and Atkinson and Batten were in their prime. This is good spirited play by Salford, though, forcing the drop out beneath the post. Channel their anger rather better there in the direction of Steve Mulroy. But that little bit of wit that Gary Devorty has given Leeds in the midfield, and that touch of class from Gary Schofield, has been the major difference between the two sides. That and the extra pace that Leeds' test star-studded team have to offer. Cassidy to Fell. Approaching the last 5 minutes, still 17 points in it, 23-6 in Leeds' favour. Please. Lee. Stasica hanging on, but knocked down by Devorty. He actually went on the transfer list in October, Gary Devorty. Looked like he might be leaving Headingley, but he's off it now. But his moment of reckoning will come when Ellery Hanley is back. But Leeds have dominated possession, 35 minutes to Salford's 26.
Well, that tells a story in itself. You can't have the ball for 9 minutes more than the opposition and not be in front of the ball game. And you put a lot of that down to Salford's mistakes. They've dropped the ball early in the tackle count a number of times, and they've paid the penalty.
Cassidy, Worrell. Cassidy again. Burgess. His form as a substitute in this second half will be one of the consolations that Kevin Tamati will take away. Cassidy. Lee. Stasica. Worrell. Lee. Young.
Leeds are desperately short out on their left-hand flank, and if Salford can shift the ball out there quickly, there's a chance of a try here. But
Cassidy long, gathered by Gilfillan, helped on to Tex Evans, had to come inside. Last tackle, Worrell trying to keep it alive, he's lost it. Morgan Edwards has got it back.
Another opportunity gone begging for Salford. Every time they've had some good ruck plays, they've had some good moves on out wide, but they just lack that yard of pace to convert those moves into points.
Inside the last 3 minutes, 23-6 the Leeds advantage. Paul Dixon. Next week's big game with Wigan in the Challenge Cup's a big one for Salford, but next month is the really big month for Salford. They've got games against Wakefield, Featherstone and Bradford, 3 of the other relegation candidates. March looks like being decision time for Leeds. They face Saints, Widnes and Wigan on successive Sundays at the start of March. Ball handed over after 6 tackles back to Salford. Here's Andy Burgess. David Fell. Right, we're inside the last 2 minutes. Time for your final decision on the man of the match, Peter Tunks.
Yes, well, as I said before, I think that Gary Schofield's had another fine game. He set up their first 2 tries in the game, but really, overall, the 80 minutes, Gary Devorty has worked very hard attack and defence. He's been a class man as a link man, and I think that Gary Devorty deserves the award today.
Gary Devorty, a test player himself some 7 years ago. Scorer of the first Leeds try today. Here's Martin Burkitt trying to round off the afternoon for Salford in some style, and he's going to do it. It's twice in the closing stages that Burkitt has got free. Another score for Salford. It's come too late to save the game. But Martin Burkitt adding to his impressive points tally for the season.
I've got a feeling you'll see this fellow in the starting lineup soon, Andy Burgess. He's been a revelation since he's come on. Martin Burkett, this man has really come on in leaps and bounds. Look at his little in and away. He ran on the outside, took Morven Edwards, he just got a hand to him, and that's a great try.
That's 5 tries in his last 3 games for Martin Burkett.
Yes, well, I can't for the life of me understand why they're not playing him in the centre where he got a lot more running opportunities. He's out here on the left flank. He hasn't had a lot of running opportunities today. The ball hasn't come to him, and really he's just been wasted out here. I think in the centre he's twice the player he is out here on the wing.
He's an architect student at Polytechnic. Guess which Polytechnic? Leeds. Last minute, and Burkett with a chance to improve his own try. And he's pushed that wide of the mark. But 2 tries today for Martin Burkett. 15 in the season for Salford, and Northern Cumbria against Papua New Guinea in the tour match. And that's an indication of what he can do.
Look at the running skills of this man. Left Morven Edwards for dead there. Not as good a goal kicker he is a try scorer, and probably a few people asking why Steve Kerry's out of fortune here at the Willows, because David Cruikshank's a long way away from being match fit, and they could certainly do with a goal kicker.
And Kevin Tamati actually tried to buy Colin Whitfield from Rochdale this week.
Yes, I was very surprised at that one. Colin's been a good player, but he's 31 and Steve's 24. I thought it was a little bit lopsided.
Yes, he was looking for a straight exchange with Steve Kerry. Anyway, that's business which may be done in the future. The business of the moment is Leeds moving up into second place in the championship table to within a point of the leaders Wigan, and they still have the games in hand to go clear themselves at the top. What was important for them today was that they got the Regal Trophy final well and truly out of their systems. Dixon, Gibson, Bentley with a chance to put a final stamp on it. Good tackle by Steve Gibson. Bobby Gouldy, picked up by Wade. Looking to go alone, they've got men over to spare here. It's Morven Edwards putting Phil Ford in again. Number 49 of his Leeds career for Phil Ford. His second of the afternoon. And Leeds perhaps wounded somewhat by those 2 Burkett scores, just finding that class gear that they've had in this second half.
Well, on the other side we had John Bentley denied a try. He deserved one, and a great tackle from Steve Gibson, but all they did was touch and pass. Leeds have been doing it for the last 25 minutes from side to side stuff. Phil Ford, they merely had the overlap. Look at the ball here. Salford at 6s and 7s, they've been run ragged. The ball comes out, a great pick-up. Sean Wayne does very well for a prop, loitering out there in the centres. A good ball out there. He gets to Morven Edwards. He cuts out a man, gives it to Phil Ford, and he says, thank you very much.
Phil Ford, the scorer. Only 4 men have scored more tries in the First Division than Phil Ford. He's been prolific down the years for Warrington and Wigan, and now Leeds, and that's the final action of an afternoon when Leeds have bounced right back into championship rhythm with a 27 points to 10 win over Salford. 2 tries in the closing 10 minutes of the first half, crucial from man of the match Gary Devorty and Sean Wayne. They opened up in these opening 10 minutes of the second half with Phil Ford's first and 1 for Bobby Goulding. Ford adding another in the closing stages after 2 from Martin Burkett for Salford. More problems down at the bottom for Salford, more threat up at the top from Leeds. We'll be back with the aftermatch aftermath after this break.
Welcome back to the Willows. Unfortunately, Salford lost 27 points to 10 to Leeds. Let's have a quick look at the league table to see where that leaves us. Leeds move into second place, played 15 and 23 points. Here's Phil Laird, who've been watching the match very closely. What about the tries in the second half, Phil?
Well, the first try in the second half came from a pretty good Salford kick. And the most important coaching points about any kick is an enthusiastic chase. And to be honest, Salford's chase was a bit poor, but once you get there, you've got to be able to tackle. And as you can see there, the tackling was very flimsy indeed. And fullback Morven Edwards straight through, offloads to Goulding, and then Goulding quite nicely creates Phil Ford's 200th try of his career. The second one, again, Leeds have been spinning the ball across the field all afternoon, and in this instance Salford just failed to pick up the runners, the most dangerous player for me has been Gary Devotie, and it's he out there that breaks through the tackle. There he goes, makes the initial break, offloads, and then keeps alive. Takes the ball on the inside, and then with superb vision, misses out the centre, and little Bobby Golding, who had a great second half, goes in for the try. The thing that's made Salford special early on in the season was their ability to keep the ball alive in the tackle. And here we see Gibson, who had a good game, offloading in the tackle, and Burgess, who came on as a substitute, doing exactly the same thing, running into the traffic, turning, offloading, and Martin Burkitt goes in at the corner. And then the consolation try late on. Good hands. Burgess again, a little shimmy inside, gives it to Fell passing the tackle, and then Burkitt, a lovely step off his left foot, and he scores his second try.
There we go, Phil, thanks very much indeed. Let's go straight down to Clyde Tilsley now, who is talking to man of the match, Gary Devotie.
Gary, many congratulations. Here's your award. What a difference a week makes.
Yeah, we were a bit disappointed from last week. Witness didn't allow us to perform, and today we've bounced back. We knew it was going to be hard. We were playing Salford twice, and just casually we got 2 points.
The first half hour wasn't too clever, was it?
No, we seemed to start off a bit slow in our games lately, and hopefully we can start from the word go next week.
Gary Schofield, that little bit of class made all the difference in the first half.
Yeah, he's a good player, Gary. He keeps us motivated, and I'll run off him and everything, and who knows, tries come off him.
Now you're in a no-win situation. Number 13 for Leeds, Ellery Hanley due back in 2 or 3 weeks' time.
Yeah, we'll just have to wait and see how it goes. I mean, like you say, he's the world number 13 player, and hopefully I've just got to fight for my place. I'm enjoying it at the moment.
Can Leeds win the title?
I don't see why not. We've got our best defensive record in the league, and hopefully we can go from strength to strength.
Gary, many congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
There we go, Gary Devotie, a well-deserved man of the match, I might say. Now listen, Salford in a bit of a trouble here. A transfer deal fell through this week. Do they need to buy players to avoid relegation?
I think the major problem with Salford is that they've just got a small squad, and our competition is so demanding that when you pick up injuries, they've really been shot to pieces, and they seem to have lost the confidence that was taking them through just before the new year.
Thanks very much for joining us, Phil. You're with us all through the season, of course, and the series. Nice to see you. There's a full programme of Rugby League tomorrow. Top game is at Halifax, and Halifax entertain leaders Wigan.
Hold on, mate. Have you finished?
Well, that was a preview of the games, but unfortunately we've lost the sound. Very sorry about that. Now then, Phil, we've talked about Salford very briefly. Leeds, will they win the championship?
Not on today's performance. Disappointed in the pack. I think Salford let them off the hook. If they'd been playing one of the big clubs today, the Wigans, the St Helens, the Widnes, I think my money would have been on the opposition. They've got to do a little bit more work. They've got to do the hard graft that wins football matches before they start passing long and giving their backs running chances out wide.
Where will Craig Innes fit in?
Well, obviously in the centre, and one of Dougie Lawton's strengths is that he's got this ability to put all the players under pressure. There's nobody who plays for Dougie feels that his position is certain. I think he'll probably bring Craig in gradually in the same way he did with Jonathan Davis, and I've got a feeling that Craig Innes will go big.
But what did you think of today's game?
Well, effectively as a contest, the game was put to sleep in the first 10 minutes of the second half. We saw that Gary Devotie and Bobby Goulding really slipped up a gear, put into overdrive, and they really killed off any chance that Salford had of coming back into the game. Salford braved, but very, very outgunned. They lacked a couple of yards of pace all over the paddock. Leeds knew that, and as soon as they got more than 6 points behind, I think that Salford realised that they were really up against it, and they after that stage they were never really in the hunt.
There we go, that's Peter Tunks, part of the commentary team. And that's more or less it now. We're back in a fortnight, more Rugby League Live on the 1st of February. Another cash competition and more great rugby. From all of us here, we hope you've enjoyed this afternoon. It's a cold evening at Salford, and it's a dismal one for Salford Rugby League. We'll see you in a couple of weeks. Goodbye.